Welcome back to Newsfeed AM, exploring the relationship communities have with their environment. That has been brought to life in the conversation between broadcaster Koketso Sachane and musician and anthropologist Birdie Mboweni. That's to tell us about their exploration of the delicate balance. They now both join me in studio. Folks, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Where shall we start? Maybe Koketso, let me start with you. Why this? Why a conversation about nature and how communities interact with their surroundings? Footprints in nature.
I think I'll throw it back to Birdie because
Really?
the origin of it is her work and her music.
Okay.
And what actually happened was that I was hosting a series of events, dialogues.
Yeah.
And because of our friendship and because of her work, we discussed collaboration, bringing the eventing side on my end, the space created, and her work. So this is very much anchored on her work, and I happen to go along for the beautiful ride.
Birdie, you're also an anthropologist, not just a musician. So this matters a lot then for you.
It does. It does. Footprints in Nature is the nexus of my work as an anthropologist and as an artist. And it really explores the theme of my research around human and environment interactions, with the theme really reflecting on the history of those interactions in South Africa. And so really having a historicized landscape approach, which is an approach that encompasses all the interactions that happen within our environment, you know, interactions between people and wildlife, interactions between people and people and culture, and all of those interactions. And that's what Footprints in Nature is about.
If you were to give me just a broad sense of what it is you've actually found then in your, let's call it your research as well, and your understanding of it, as how people have interacted with nature, has that dwindled? Has that fallen away somewhat? Have people perhaps looked at nature less lovingly, if we can call it that, right? Because it gives a sense of we're now caring about ourselves just a little bit more. Am I wrong?
Oh, goodness. There's so much that happens in that space. And, you know, what I've found are so many social issues that exist within, especially because I looked at how people interact with the environment in protected areas, so national parks in South Africa. And what has happened in the past is that there's always been this human-nature dichotomy, so the division of people from their environment and the fencing in of plants and animals and the keeping out of people. And so for a long time, we've been convinced that people don't really like interacting with nature, whereas, you know, when colonialism happened and when apartheid happened, you know, those fences were created, and so there were barriers to access. And in post-apartheid South Africa, you see a lot of social issues coming up, because another thing that has happened is that, you know, the nature conservation enterprise has always been treated as sort of like a silo, you know, a sort of like a high tower of some sort that's not affected by social issues. And in post-apartheid South Africa, you see a lot of these social issues coming up. You see, you know, issues of land claims, post-apartheid land claims, how, you know, how people are affected by, you know, the mere fact of them existing with animals. And so the theme that has come quite a lot in my thesis is the issue of people and elephants, and what that tells us about the politics of the current regime.
It's a very regal animal as well that we speak of.
It
there.
is.
We speak about the elephant as well. So the context of that will be very interesting. Okay, so let's talk about merging conversation and performance then for you. How you take what Birdie has put forward, an incredible idea, try to merge it then as well with conversation, helping people understand it better and relaying the message correctly using her work. Has that been difficult for you? How have you been able to manage that?
Not at all. And I think that for me, there is that passion of music and conversation and dialogue on different issues. Uncomfortable issues and also emotional and beautiful issues. And sometimes you find that the music also carries those themes as well. So finding that merging point is not difficult at all. And what is beautiful about the work that we've been doing with Birdie is that her work as an anthropologist also translates to her music.
Yes.
So the work, who she is as a person, is inspired by history, inspired by her research, and then it comes through in the music. And so the event itself, we go deep into the research work and what is found, and at the same time explain how that links to the performances, the music that you're about to hear as well. So it ends up being just a long, beautiful experience.
So explain this to me then. How exactly does this work? It's not necessarily a musical, is it? But it's also a conversation. So What exactly is happening? Like, is it a case of an interview and then at some point you sing, or explain how it would work when I arrive? And I'm just like,
that's
okay,
if you're coming.
Well,
Please
now
come.
I have to, don't I? Now I have to come.
Now you have to.
So how does it work?
So how the event is structured is that when we start, obviously Koketso then introduces the concept and introduces me.
Yeah.
And I perform one song to introduce a sort of like an overarching theme of, And the first song that I like to perform is Garingani, which is a song about storytelling, which really tells the story of how we would sit around the fire and would be told stories, some with themes, that have to do with the environment. And so I perform the song, and then we sit down with Koketso and we have an engaged conversation. And it's not just a conversation between the two of us. It also involves the audience. So people get to share their stories, get to share their experiences, ask questions as we speak, and then we have the music. And I think the beauty of this current one that we have going on tomorrow is that we've invited Dumza Maswana, who is also a beautiful storyteller.
Yes.
And so within the event, we're also gonna, call him in to perform some of his songs.
Do you want to tell us how the name Birdie came about?
Bird is from Songbird, and so eventually Songbird
Okay.
became Birdie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, very simple. I would have thought that the anthropology segment of your work as well came into it.
The funny thing about that is that at some point I was living on Dawson Island in the Western Cape, and my work really was just about studying birds. And so, I mean, serendipity, I guess.
So there's two parts of it then. The
Yes.
Songbird, yes, but certainly the study of birds that you had in the Western Cape,
Absolutely.
very important.
And my love for birds, really. I think they're beautiful creatures. I love them.
Absolutely wonderful, man. Okay, so it's one thing to have something like this. It's another thing to ensure that it has an impact beyond this event. Koketso, how do you ensure that that becomes a clear message to people, that it moves beyond just the event itself, it moves beyond just having this one really great overlay of footprints in nature and people understanding it in the moment, but then fizzling away after that, because it needs to be a concerted effort beyond just the one time.
I think as a start, Arabile, it's about consistency. So this is the third one that we're doing, right? The first one we did in Cape Town in September of last year.
Okay.
And then we had a follow-up in Pretoria in January, and then now we have one in Johannesburg.
Okay.
And it is about that consistency as a start.
All of them footprints
Yes,
in nature,
very much,
right? Yeah.
very much. As Birdie explained, thematically and
Yes.
approach, that's what we've been doing, and moving it around the country, and also documenting it, and being able to take, the plan is to take that which we've documented and put it out there and continue. Because it is a very important conversation that you need to take people along on that
100%,
journey.
yeah.
Right? So consistency as a start is what's going to
Have you
keep
seen
us
the
going.
growth then? There, with you having taken it across the country, the understanding growing, people getting to wonder, what is this actually about, and being a part of it a little bit more?
Yeah, most definitely. And it helps being able to, come to Newzroom Afrika as well and have the conversation, because then we spread the word. But what has been clear is when we did Cape Town, people were asking, when are you coming to Johannesburg? Which is what we're doing right now. So the word is spreading. And I think because of the importance of the conversation itself, we need to be gentle in how we bring it across and how we build it.
Why have we needed until now to do this, for example? I mean, Birdie, maybe let me ask you, why does it feel as though we've lost so much time in trying to relay this message that it could have been done before, but maybe there weren't enough ears listening, maybe there weren't enough people wanting to understand the story? Is that the case, or is it just a situation of timing?
I think it could be both. I think in so many ways, when we do the kind of work that we do as scholars, it often feels like we're doing the work amongst ourselves. And this is why we're doing Footprints in Nature, to take the work outside of the papers that we write and outside of the academic buildings within universities to make the practical impact within people, and to really leave them with the understanding that, there's nothing new about us being here. We are only coming back to the places where we've always belonged, to the places where we've always been. And this is the theme of the work, really, to remind people that we belong here. And as much as these places are deemed to be protected, these are places that we very much belong to.
Koketso, where is this happening?
It's happening at Pata Pata in Maboneng.
All right.
In Johannesburg, tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Fantastic. Guys, look forward to it if I can. I'm actually very likely. Look.
We need to hold you to this.
Also have to work as well, and I'm still going to be here tomorrow too, guys. But I'd actually like to come. I'm a little bit interested. I really am, and I think there's a great sense of wanting to get a clearer understanding of where we lie, and just getting back to nature in many ways. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Birdie as well as Koketso Sachane, they're joining us as we get into Footprints in Nature, a conversation about nature and how communities interact with their surroundings.